Welcome, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dusty Ripplemeyer. I am the spiritual director of this amazing community, and I'm so glad that you're here. And I also welcome all of those at home that have invited us into your homes today through the technology of live streaming. Thank you very much for including us in your day. Is there any new guest that is here for the very first time? And I do know there are a couple. Yay, thank you for raising your hands. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning, for Googling whatever you Googled to get us here, or if you attended other centers in the past, I thank you for allowing us the possibility of being your new spiritual family. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living, and there are many centers for spiritual living all over the world. We believe that there is one God, that God is within us and surrounding us, that it is not some external being outside of us, sitting on a cloud somewhere, doling out favors and punishments at whim, but really an energy, a benevolent, loving energy that is always for us and never against us. We believe that there is a power that we can tap into, a creative power that we can use to create the experiences of our lives. And so we gather together on Saturdays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays and Mondays for class and all the time to support each other on this spiritual path, to remind each other of the truth. And so I thank you very much for joining us today.
Today's reading is from our main man, Ernie, Dr. Ernest Holmes. Ernest Holmes writes, "The best way to arrive at the highest consciousness is to have a great faith in the willingness and the ability of life to do all for us, by working through us. There, through the door of our own thought, we enter into the universal consciousness, into a complete realization of life and truth, of love and beauty. And as we sit in the silence of our own souls and listen, it will be the greatest thing we will ever do. In the completeness, we are lost and yet we are found. This is what is meant that a man must lose his life in order to find it. We are lost to the human and found in the divine." And so it is.
Hi. You always seem to multiply every time I have my back to you. I love that. So I have the honor and the privilege of introducing our guest speaker today. Many of you know him. Many of you have been here when he's graced our sanctuary before. Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, along with Reverend Barbara Waterhouse, are co-founders of the Asheville Center for Spiritual Living, and I say if ever you're out in that area that you should always make that be your first and primary destination for Sunday morning. It's an absolutely wonderful experience. He is also the past president of the Centers for Spiritual Living, the organization itself, the mothership as we call it. He was the past president for many years and was a dynamic and awesome leader. Thank you very much, John. And today, as always, he brings joy, and he brings unconditional love, and he brings wisdom and a sense of peace to everywhere he goes, and today he's brought it here. Please welcome Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse.
Hey. Thank you. Hey, everybody. It is good to be back here. I always enjoy coming to Raleigh. You guys have a wonderful community, and it's a delight to be here. And I want to thank you for supporting Reverend Dusty when she came out and was with our community. When Barbara and I were out of town, she came and shared a message that resonated with us, and I was very grateful that you were willing to do that. Thank you so much. Yeah, we love you back in Asheville. Yeah, and to my colleagues and these recent graduates that are here today, what a delight! We did have a great time yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. So, Consciousness. What would I say about consciousness? Well, the thing that is said about consciousness in our movement is that consciousness is everything. A pretty bold statement without a lot of understanding for most people. Okay, consciousness is everything. What does that mean? Does that mean nothing else exists, just consciousness? Pretty much. But there's a methodology to explain how that works on a cosmic level, and it happens to be on the wall behind me. And what an opportunity to actually have this. Anyone that doesn't know, this is a teaching symbol. That's what we call it. It's what we use to explain how our understanding of the world works. We have a very large one in our sanctuary in Asheville. It's about 6 feet and sits up on the wall, and it's backlit. So and we have had people tell us that they have brought visitors to our center, and the visitors have decided not to come back because that makes them think we're a cult. And it doesn't say cult anywhere on it. So that's an interpretation that some people have had. So we spend a lot of time explaining that to the people that come to our center, and that's what I want to do to explain the nature of consciousness. At least that's where I want to start. So first thing I want to do is ask you to imagine this without the thing that is not a V. It's not a V. But imagine that thing is not there, and that there are simply 3 sections. Those 3 sections explain the nature of consciousness. The top section is not a physical place. There's nothing physical about it. But it is the mind of God. It's the conscious mind of God, which means it's your mind. Because there is only one mind. That's what we teach. And everything at the level of that is interconnected in this one mind. And that really works for me, that there's only one mind. I had a little trouble with it at first when I found the science of mind, but then I got it and I said, okay, we're going somewhere. So let's explain how that non-physical point where everything is created, it's called causes everything to be, interacts with these other 2 segments. The center segment is the law of spirit. It's the mechanics of spirit. You might say, well, how does that work? I have no idea. But I know it works, and it always works without exception. What it does, it is not self-motivated. It can't do anything itself. But what it does is from the top section, it takes the thoughts that we have, the ideas that we embrace, our consciousness, what we believe, what we know, is impressed upon that center section called the law, and it outpictures, it demonstrates, it shows up as this bottom section, which represents everything physical in the universe. And this works as the macrocosm of the cosmos, and it works in your life exactly the same way. Thomas Troward said that the way spirit exists is that it exists infinitely and entirely at every point. It's not just that it's infinite everywhere, but it's in its entirety present at every point. That means where you are. Where you are is the absolute allness of God. Freaky, huh? And with that, you have the ability to create your life. Not only do you have the ability, you don't have any choice. You're creating your life with this model every moment of your life. Ernest Holmes said, there's a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And in his day, that was a great thing to say. But I've modified that to apply to this because this is an absolute model. It doesn't sometimes work and sometimes not. So I've taken Ernest Holmes' words and changed them this way. There is a power in the universe. It's not really good or bad. It's the power in the universe. And it's not that you use it. You can use it. You do use it. Whether you know it or not, it doesn't care whether you know it. You're using it all the time. And that power is the alchemy of this process. That you have a thought, you have a belief, something seems real to you, and the law takes it and brings it into your life. And you go, I knew that was the way it was. as though it happened outside of you, and it didn't. It happened through you. That's how it works. That's the nature of consciousness. And there's no getting away from the fact that there are things in all of our lives that we don't particularly like. Yet those things are in our lives because we created them. Well, no, I didn't. Oh, yes, you did. And so did I, in every moment, in every way. I was absolutely, and that's not a place for guilt or blame. That's not what I'm talking about. It's that when we know that we are in charge of everything happening in our lives, we must have the ability to change it. That's the key, is don't get all upset because something's not working. Take it and change it so it works. Well, but it's all about them. No, it's not. It's all about you. It's always been about you, and it always will be. From your perspective, everything that's happening in your life is only about you. That's the nature of consciousness, is that we create our experience. Now, there's only one mind of God. So there's this dance that happens when we're upset or we're angry or we're in judgment. We're going to draw to us the equivalent of that with other people and other circumstances, and it's all going to be our doing, although it looks like it's somebody else or something else that's doing it. For example, I've had this thing that says, I can't figure out how to get from the hotel we're staying at to this center and back without getting on my GPS. Just a passing thought, and I don't like dwell in it and stay there. But what seems to happen is that that's what materializes in my life, in so much that I left my hotel in plenty of time to be here on time. I got on the freeway, and I said, it's 7 minutes to get there. And after about 7 minutes, I'm going, I don't see my exit. By then, I'd passed the next reasonable exit and had to drive 3 more miles and turn around and go the other way because I was headed the wrong direction. And of course, by then, I was not here on time to start the early celebration. I did that. Nobody else did that. I created that through that thought that I couldn't do it, even though I'm going, oh, I'm going to figure it out today. It'll be fine. I still had that thought that I get confused as to which way I'm going. And I usually have an excellent sense of direction, so this one's been a little burr in my side, annoying me with that. But it got me really good this morning. So that's something that I have to work on. And it's just a little bitty thing, but it's a perfect example of how we create our own experience. We're doing it all the time. And all these things that we think aren't part of our experience, they are. They are. We did that. Well, you go, well, I didn't want to have this disease that I have, or this malady, or this problem in my life. Well, of course you didn't. But somewhere in your consciousness, there's something that says that could happen. One of the easiest ones to point out is our relationship with our parents and our ancestors in looking at what kind of maladies they have gone through. Well, is there heart problems in your family history? Or is there diabetes? Is there cancer? And you can just go down the list. Doctors will ask you that. And for a while I went, those are stupid questions because nothing in my DNA is going to create that over in my life. Well, actually, what I'm learning is that there can be things in my DNA, but how they got there was not from my parents, it's from my own thinking. Did you know that we can change our DNA with our beliefs? Yep. We absolutely can. And the researchers think it's coming from our parents, but that's not where it's coming from. It's coming from us. We're the ones that are living our lives. So if you believe because a parent had a certain disease that you could get it, chances are you're going to get it. And if you believe that the fact that your parent had a disease that had nothing to do with you, that was theirs, and you're going to live from that place of health and wholeness, guess what? That's not going to happen. Now, none of us are exempt from this idea that we have little hidden little hidden beliefs in our subconscious. We do, and those are the things that will pop up. And the thing to do with them is to heal them by letting them go. Consciousness pervades everything in our lives without exception. And it's up to us to wake up to that and to live our lives according to the knowing of who we are. Because when those things happen, we've forgotten who we are. I tell people all the time that when they have some major problem in their life, that they have that problem not to make their lives harder, not to make their lives less fun and interesting. Those things are in your life through your consciousness to remind you of who you are and to help you to wake up to the fact that you are the presence of the divine, living a brilliant, wonderful life, and it is not your job to suffer, ever. Now, I'm not going to say, yeah, okay, good. It is never to suffer. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have pain. We do. But pain is also that thing that says, wake up and pay attention. I've gotten into yoga recently. It's wonderful. I'm really enjoying it. I didn't think I would. I thought this would be a very short experience, but I am thoroughly enjoying it. I've got some great teachers, and I go to these yoga classes, and I do the poses, and I'm getting better at it. And when I do tree, you know what tree is? That's this. I don't fall over anymore. So things are improving, and what my yoga teachers continue to tell me is that this is happening within me. My body is responding to my understanding, and that when I shift my beliefs, when my teacher says, soon you will be able to do this pose, my first thoughts on someone were, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to be able to do that. I can't reach that part of my body. But when I let go of that and go with what I'm being taught, pretty soon I'm finding it and able to do it. Wow. Everything is consciousness. Every choice we make all through the day drives our experience. And most people on the planet have no idea. They don't get that. They don't know it. They would reject it if they heard me say it because they have so much evidence that that's not true. Because I didn't do that and that person's doing it to me. The classic example of that is, of course, your supervisor. If you have a job where you have anyone that has any authority over you, you think that they somehow can affect your life. That's only in your mind. Only in your mind. If you are doing what you have been paid to do, no matter how much they may look like they're in your way, they are simply there to remind you of who you are. And that you are doing your work and that you are being productive and cooperative and supportive to an outcome that serves whatever institution you work for. But we play the game of thinking something outside of us has some control, has some power over us, can be annoying to us. And we give it away. We give that power to us. And what happens is when we give our power away, it's no longer our power. So we have to take it back. We have to take it back by living the life we have come to live, by understanding the power that we wield to accept our divine nature, to know that the God that has created the cosmos is the same God that dwells inside of you. And an interesting thing about the cosmos, about the universe, most people think that God created the universe, and I don't agree. I think that God is still creating the universe in every moment. That if God stopped creating the universe, it would just dissipate into nothingness. You've heard the physicists talk about how there's no real thing there, that most of what atomic structure is empty space. And that it creates the illusion that we see as a chair or a body or whatever, that there's not much there. But there's enough there for us to get some sensory feedback that says something's there. Because we can see it and we can touch it and we can, in some cases, feel it. And when those things are there, we call it real. But the thing that's real is our belief. That's what guides and directs everything that we experience. And everything that we experience goes through the filters so that we turn it from a neutral event into something that has some level of meaning to us. That I like it, I don't like it, it's bad, it's wrong, it's wonderful, whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way we're structured. But it's our job to choose what that is that we're going to call it and avoid calling things bad or wrong or somehow evil. They're not. Do you know that we live in the most peaceful time in the history of humankind? You watch the news, you don't get that. You get that people are killing people and that there are people out to get us and that the world is just going to hell in a handbasket. But Steven Pinker, who is a researcher who teaches at Harvard University, has done the research. It's getting better. It's getting better all the time. So why do we keep falling into this trap? Because we watch the news. I'm not saying don't watch the news, but I'm telling you not to believe the news is the absolute of your life. Know that the absolute of your life is that you are the presence of the divine and that you are creating your experience. And let those folks take care of their stuff. They will. We're not denying them. Everyone can have their experience, and if some people want to have violent experiences, they're going to do it as long as they do. But it seems that we're maturing as a species, and we're starting to see who we are more clearly. And I'm grateful to Dr. Pinker for that understanding. So what do you do with all this? How do you make sure that whatever's coming out of your thoughts and your beliefs and your knowledge of the world is the thing that best serves you? Well, some of them, the points are really easy to make. Stay out of judgment. Be grateful. Do your forgiveness work. But you know what? At some point, your forgiveness work should stop because you've forgiven everybody. And if you keep finding people to forgive, then you've got to really work on your judgment. Really? So where we want to go with this is that we want to start creating our consciousness according to our highest understanding. It's our job to do. And the best way I know to do it is to start your day with it. My wife and I do spiritual mind treatment every morning. We have a really lovely, cushy leather chairs that we sit in, and we drink our coffee, and then we do our treatment work together, and we witness one another's treatment work. And that's very powerful for us, and we've been doing that for about 30 years. And so that's a key ingredient for us. But if you don't get up in the morning and do treatment, if you've got kids to take care of or places to go, and your routine doesn't do that, at least do this. Tell yourself it's going to be a great day. Just say that at the beginning of the day. I'm going to have a great day. And when you set that standard every single day, it starts happening. It does. Our lines at our center are today is a happy day. Barbara holds happiness as the highest calling of life. And I resisted it for a while. I said clarity is the highest calling. But you know what? If you're happy, you're pretty clear. So I yield to that. And then we say today is the best day ever. How can today be the best day ever? Well, so far in my life, this day, this moment, this place where I am right now is the best. I'm claiming that for me. How does that manifest? Well, if you believe it, you'll actually have a pretty amazing day. I mean, you can get all into judgment and go back and say, no, there was a day in 1984. But don't do that. Because you can't do anything about 1984. You can do a lot about 2018, June, today, where you are and what you're going to experience. So why not have the best day you've ever had? Why not? So whatever you want to call it, however you want to say it, the idea is let's go with starting our day on top of it, saying, I'm in charge, I'm creating my day, and this is the day I'm calling forth. And if you don't do anything else, do that. And watch how things change during the day. Because whatever you accept as so in your life is drawn to you. We were going through some stuff at our center recently where it felt like everything was breaking. The riding lawnmower, 2 air conditioning units, refrigerator, just all these things were mechanically stopped functioning, and Barbara was really focused on getting these things to work, and it wasn't working for her. She was struggling with that. And Barbara doesn't struggle a lot, so this was strange for me to experience, but I had the good sense to stay out of it. It'd been that way, and it was Thursday. It was actually Thursday night, and she couldn't sleep. There was so much stuff going on. So she sat up and she treated. You know, Dr. Holmes used to do that. He would sit up all night and treat. And his point was, it wasn't that he was trying to force something, but he would keep saying it to himself until it was real, until he could say, I absolutely believe that. So that's what Barbara did on that particular Thursday night. She sat up and she said, everything in my life works. And she worked it and worked it and worked it. And finally she went back to bed and We woke up in the morning and she said, I had quite a session last night. And I said, great, let's have that kind of day. And we did. And at the end of the day, we made a list on a notepad of all the things that had suddenly started working. It was amazing what got done that day. The people that showed up, the things that happened, the synchronicities that all fell into place, all that stuff went away. You see, if you have some kind of a problem and you focus on it as a problem and you let the problem be the problem in your life, you get more problems. Whereas if you know that you're greater than any problem, if you know that you are the presence of the divine, you will move beyond that and there won't be any problems. This is without exception. I say this as an absolute truth in life, but it's our choice. And isn't that lovely that we get to choose? Let's always choose a way of doing that that serves and helps us move into something greater. I have other thoughts. I had to look and see what they were. One is that I really encourage people to do is stop trying. Stop trying to work it out. Stop trying to get there. Move beyond trying. When someone tells me, well, I'm trying to be there with y'all on Sunday, I know they won't be there. They'll be off somewhere trying. Because you can't try and do at the same time. So stop that and do what it is you say that you're going to do and bring into your life with absolute certainty an outcome. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to micromanage everything that's going on. You don't. All you have to do is absolutely know that the thing that you're calling into your life is so. Right now, you need to see it in your mind's eye. And if you can touch it, then touch it. And if you can smell it, smell it. If you can hear it, hear it. Whatever it takes to make that real, so that you should be able to walk around it 360 degrees and see it from every angle. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're creating it in mind. And it's irresistible to this center section. When you create it, the universe must produce it. So it's not optional. I don't understand anyone that says, well, I treated and it didn't work. Well, if you treated and it didn't work, that wasn't a treatment, then you said some words and tried to convince yourself, but you didn't convince yourself because it didn't manifest. Ernest Holmes said to our practitioner, he said, treat till it manifests. Treat till it demonstrates. Then you've done your work, and not until. And that's true for all of us. Practitioners are wonderful. I encourage you to go to practitioners and ask them for their support. They are magnificent people that can help in your life basically because they don't care about your problem. They don't care. If they cared, then they'd be hooked up in it and they couldn't help you. They don't care. They know who you are. They know that you're the presence of the divine, and they will know that for you. The challenge with going to practitioners for me is that somehow people think that's going to be a permanent fix, and it's not. Yes, practitioners can know a change in your life that will show up. But I assure you, if that you're living in a state of lack and your consciousness doesn't shift, that or something often more difficult will happen in your life. So go to a practitioner, get that support, but listen to what they say and believe what they say and shift your consciousness so that you don't have to do that again, whatever it is. Because the problems in your life are only problems because you say so. The truth is that everything that happens in your life or mine is a neutral act. It has no meaning until you apply meaning to it and call it bad or call it good. And I'm not saying don't do that, but make sure you call everything good. Because that's the truth of your life, is that you're living this magnificent, mystical, wonderful life where you're creating everything that comes into your experience without exception, even this little microphone. All is perfect. All is God. Let's see if there's something else that I wanted to share with you real quick before we call this thing. Don't be afraid of the fact that there is some angst between where you are and where you want to be. That's natural. That's normal. There's tension. Use that tension like a magnet to draw you closer to the thing that you desire. And stop desiring it, move into having it and knowing it. And you will. You absolutely will. And when we do this, what we end up with is healthier, happier, more higher functioning lives. And I think that's the blessing of the science of mind, is that every day we get a little bit closer to having the life that we know we can have because we apply this understanding. One more thing I want you to do. What I've found in my life is that whatever's going on, whatever challenge that I think is there, I tell myself that I can do it. I can do my part in making that happen. I can know the truth. I can act on it. I don't have to know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. How's none of my business. But I know it's that way. I know that this is true. And when I know that, it really happens. So it starts with that little idea. I can do it. I can be it. I can have it, whatever it is. So I want to ask you to do that with me for just a moment. Imagine something that you would bring into your life. Some condition, circumstance, the elimination of something from your life, whatever it is. Just imagine for a moment what that is. At first, it seems very close. It seems very personal. It seems very, very solid. But I'll invite you to push it away from you a bit. Let it be further away from you, if it's a problem. Now, if it's a thing that you desire, look at it far away and bring it toward you. So problems, challenges move away, and desires for something to be in your life comes toward you. The energy of that, the consciousness of that will shift if you will allow yourself to be without the thing that is the problem and to be with the thing that you desire. You're in charge. You are the captain of your ship. You are the master of your destiny. Only you can make this so. So say this with me. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Do it again. Yes, I can. One more time. Yes, I can. Yes, you can. God bless you. Thank you.